Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Hadley and today is my annual all the books that I read in 2025 video. This is one of my favorite videos to film throughout the year. I just love talking about books, and this is something that I haven't made like part of my content as often as I wish I would do, is just talking about books. I also don't read enough books to make my account a book YouTube. So if you came here thinking, oh my god, a new person to follow, I don't make that a lot. It's mostly K-pop, fashion, and sometimes books. But if you're interested in what I read, then just keep on watching. I have 25 books to talk about today, which is the most I've ever read, so I'm really proud of myself. I had some slumps here and there, but lots of good books. A lot of these books in here are very, very popular. You could probably see from the top of this book. I'm still getting into a lot of the newer, more popular books at the moment, and then throughout next year and years after that, I'll do more niche books. I just want to preface that I'm still very new to this, so a lot of these books are very popular and people have heard and talked about. I'm gonna talk about some stats because I usually always do that. So I actually have read every day this year, and my highest reading streak is actually at 377 days. So really proud of myself. My rating, my average rating is actually 4 stars. So I'm pretty easy to impress at the moment. Again, these books that I've been reading are very popular, so my Fable reading summary for the year was, which I don't know why it now says paranormal romantic, but that's not what it was for the most of the year. Your reading is a haunted blend of love, redemption, and supernatural twist. You gravitate towards the thrilling mix of danger and romance. I'm not sure where the supernatural twist and all that stuff comes into these books, but I'm interested in seeing what Fable's reasoning was for that. Get into all the books, talk about them, and tell you guys my ratings, how I felt about them. The first 3 books that I read this year, which you could probably tell just by this book, was the first 3 books in the Imperium series, or the Fourth Wing series. This was by far my favorite reads of this year, and it was at the beginning of the month, which sets the tone for the rest of the year. But I loved every second of this series. It may be a basic opinion, but I just ate it up. I loved all the characters, I loved the storyline, I loved the romance. It was also a pretty easier read. So obviously we have Fourth Wing, which is the first book in the series. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. It was so fun. I think this is the fastest I've ever read a book. If you don't know anything about Fourth Wing, it's about a girl named Violet who goes to a war college to learn how to be a dragon rider, and there's a lot of romance, politics, found family in here, and I just think that it's just an amazing series. And then right after, I picked up Iron Flame, which is the second book in the series. This one I also gave a 5 out of 5 stars, but I wouldn't necessarily say this is my favorite out of the whole series, probably my least favorite. There were some things in here that I was just like, can the main character stop? But it was still very, very, very enjoyable. And then right after I finished Iron Flame, not even 2 days later, Onyx Storm came out. This is, I think, a lot of people's anticipated read for the year, and I went to Target and picked it up the day that it was released. It was my first experience with like book releases, and devoured this. Another 5 out of 5 stars. I still think about the ending of this book. It is fantastic. I do have a spoiler reading vlog that I'll link down below of me reading this book, but so good. And I did get the beautiful deluxe version. Okay, the next book that I read right after Onyx Storm, which I think this is probably why I didn't really like this book, because I think Onyx Storm put me in a slump but I read the 4th book in the Bridgerton series, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which is Penelope and Colin's story. I love Bridgerton, the TV show, and I started reading the books last year, and so I picked this one up right after Onyx Storm, and I really wish that I didn't do that because I think it made me struggle with this book. I did give it a 3.5 stars. It just was an okay book. I didn't think it was anything special. There were a lot of changes from the TV series and the book, but I really do love Penelope's character a lot, and I think she's very strong in this book. So next, I did the crazy thing and started reading Throne of Glass this year. And I read every single one of those books, and I will talk about them as we go throughout the video because I didn't read them all in order. But I read the first 3 books in the series in order, one after the other. And I did start with Assassin's Blade, and I don't want to see anyone in my comments being like, why did you do that? Because I researched the heck out of where you should read Assassin's Blade, and it was pretty 50-50. But some people said if you want an emotional connection to the characters in this book and throughout the rest of the series, they like haunt the narrative in a way, you should read this first. And I'm very glad that I did, because I feel like if I read this 3rd or 4th, it would just kind of be like, you know, okay, I already like half know what's happening in this story. So I did give this one a 3.75 stars. This is probably not my least favorite book in the series, but I did enjoy it, and it was a little hard to get into because I was like, this is what people say is like a god tier fantasy book, but still really important to the main character's storyline. And then obviously I read the next 2 in the series, which is technically book 1 and book 2. We have Throne of Glass. I gave Throne of Glass a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought this was a great start to the series. I didn't know anything about Throne of Glass before starting this book series, and all I knew was there was a girl who is an assassin and was in jail and now has to go through trials to essentially gain her freedom, is all I knew. And I thought this was a good start. It was fun, great start to the series. Next, I read the 2nd book in the series, which is Crown of Midnight, and this one was one of my favorite of the whole series. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. Again, I didn't know anything about going into this series, so I wasn't spoiled at all about what happens, and the ending of this book just jaw dropped because I was just not expecting it at all. I thought this was a beautiful, beautiful storyline. The only thing that I didn't like was the main character and who she picked. That's all I'll say, but amazing. And also this cover is gorgeous, by the way. Next book I read, which is probably my 2nd to least favorite book that I've read this year, and that is Quicksilver. I picked this up because everyone online was talking about it and were saying that Kingfisher, the main male, which is the male on the cover, was very similar to like Dorian, Rowan, and Xaden and Rhys from ACOTAR, and I was like, okay, I like all of those characters. I'm gonna pick this one up. And I give it a 3 out of 5 stars. I would say that the ending is what really made me give it 3 stars because I was interested, but there were a lot of grammar issues, storyline issues, and I just like didn't really connect with the main character, and also didn't connect with the main character and her romance with the main male. I just didn't understand why people loved it as much as they did. I felt like it was a really long book as well, but I still am interested in the storyline and will be reading the 2nd book in the series. I'm very upset though that she changed like direction on the cover and like the vibe of the series, because I think this is like a gorgeous cover, and the 2nd book does not look anything like this. So as someone who has the original cover and now has the 2nd book in the like, here it is, by the way, so you know what I'm talking about. the vibes don't match. We have a piece of paper. This is my first audiobook that I read, and it is Girl Abroad by Elle Kennedy, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5 stars. I am easily impressed, so gave it a 4 stars. Comparing this book, a newer book by Elle Kennedy, versus another book that I read this year, that's one of her older books, her writing has changed a lot, and I feel like this talked about women a little bit better, in a better light than some of her other books. Was so glad that she picked the guy I wanted. She wanted her to pick though. So, but Girl Abroad, it just follows a girl studying abroad in London, and her roommates are 3 men. So very enjoyable, super cute book. Next, we have 2 more books in the Throne of Glass series. We have Heir of Fire and Queen of Shadows. I gave Heir of Fire a 4 out of 5 stars. This is where the storyline begins. I feel like the first 3 books were very light, fun, and then this book and beyond is where it changed. We're like in a new location, new characters unlocked. I loved it. I thought Heir of Fire was great, and this was like one of the last skinny books. After this, it just gets longer and longer. We have Queen of Shadows. I gave Queen of Shadows 4.5 stars. I liked it so much, but one of my favorite male characters barely had like anything in here. He was just non-existent half the time, and there was too much of another character. That's all I give you. But yeah, just the ending was crazy, insane. I can't spoil these books. Like, there's not much I can say other than my ratings, because this is a series. Next, we have the second book in the Prince and the Apocalypse series. This is Heir Apparent, which is the second book. I read the Prince and the Apocalypse early last year and really loved it, and then she came out with a second book and I liked it. It just didn't resonate with me as much as the first book. I thought the first book had such an interesting plot line, and this one just kind of was like, we continue like kind of the same thing and didn't really achieve anything until like the last chapter. So I did give it a 3.75. I can't speak. Also, I don't know what happened, but the first book and this book quality are so significantly different, and I hate when publishers do that. Just keep it all the same, because when I put them next to each other, like, different vibes, if that makes sense. Like, not the covers, but the book quality. Next, we're moving on to some romance, and I started the Twisted series. I've been seeing this everywhere. Actually, the reason I picked this up was because I kept seeing these 4 random girls that have nothing to do with the book community get together and like talk about how they're the fan cast of this series. So niche. If you're a huge Twisted fan, you would know what I'm talking about. So I picked it up, found out it's gonna be turned into a TV show, and I want to read the books before the TV shows. I did enjoy this book. I really did. I probably would have given it a 4 stars up until the very end, when the main male lead became weird. Very weird. It got a 3 out of 5 stars, but like, there was too much love bombing at the end of the book, and it was a lot, and the main male is just like, he was insufferable at the very end. Actually, for the most part, there were some cute scenes here and there that I was like, oh, you know, that's sweet, but like, too much. Okay, moving on to some more Throne of Glass. We have the tandem read, which took me forever to get through, because if you know what a tandem read is, you like read a chapter in one book and then switch to another book and read the chapter, because they kind of flow in the same timeline, but they follow different characters in different countries in the world. So this follows a character that I despise, and this is why it's my least favorite book of the series. But yeah, I think the tandem read really did help me get through this book. So I gave this one a 4.5 stars and this one just straight old 3 stars, because I don't like the character in this book, like that it really follows, but this one was freaking fantastic, and this one was just, you know, yeah. The only thing that was redeemable of this was the spider scenes. Doesn't really give anything away, but I don't like spiders. And also it has one of the most, like, plot twists since Crown of Midnight. So that's what made it 3 stars. Because I think anything under 3 stars is not enjoyable. So, okay. I didn't go right into Kingdom of Ash because I had to take a step back from the world and prepare myself for Kingdom of Ash. So I did read the next book in the Twisted series, which is Twisted Games. This follows Bridget, who is friends with the main character of Twisted Love, Ava. It's like interconnected standalone series, by the way. And this is like a modern day princess and her bodyguard, and so it was just kind of like, you know, the whole time I was just like, I just really was like, when are they gonna get together? Like, when can they, you know, be together and then not be secret? That was me the whole time. I give this a 4 out of 5 stars. And yeah, super fun, super cute, love it. Then we have Kingdom of Ash. I gave Kingdom of Ash a lovely 5 out of 5 stars. My heart was ripped out of me. This was like an emotional roller coaster. I can't talk about my feelings without spoiling things, so just know that this is the best of the series. This was just amazing. It was so good, and it was worth the almost 1,000 pages that it was. This also was the longest book I read this year, so that's all I'll say. That's a god tier book right here. Next we have Love on the Brain. I actually read this one and then bought the physical book later because I really loved it, and I think that Allie Hazelwood is probably one of my favorite romance writers. This is a 5 out of 5 stars. I loved it. It was just fun and easy to read, and I like the characters, and I like how it's an Adam Driver fanfic. So super fun and enjoyable. And this follows, it's like the Women in STEM universe, but this follows Bee goes to NASA, she meets Levi. Levi is a grad student that she thought hated her. So it's kind of like Enemies to Lover, Grumpy Sunshine vibes in NASA, and what more could you ask? As a girl not in STEM, I loved it. Then, obviously, I read ACOTAR last year, and then I read Throne of Glass, which means I obviously went right into Crescent City. This is The House of Earth and Blood, which is the first book in the Crescent City series, and I give this a 4 out of 5 stars. I think this is Sarah J. Maas's best written work. You can tell the difference between ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, and this one, and how she has matured as a writer. It was so beautifully written, and I thought the storyline was actually super interesting, and I don't understand why people hate this series at the current moment. Okay guys, at the current moment I have not read the 3rd book. So Nether Paper. This is my first DNF book of this year and my only DNF book. I read My Life with the Walter Boys. Listen, this was a moment of weakness. I watched the show. I thought the show was terrible, but I thought it's like one of those shows that's really terrible. You're like, kind of like, I gotta know what's gonna happen. Like, who's she gonna choose? And like the blonde guy, like gorgeous. So I'm gonna continue watching it for him. So I was like, okay, I love the 1st and 2nd season. I have to know what happens. I'm gonna audiobook the 1st book. Terrible book. Terrible book. The main female character has no personality whatsoever, and now I kind of understand why the actress in the TV series acts that way. And it was just like constant, like, it's worse. The book is worse than the show. It was just a constant like going back and forth between these 2 boys, and it was obnoxious. And it was like 95% of the way through the book, and it was still just, oh, what are we gonna resolve here? Absolutely nothing. I did DNF it, but I did give it a 1 star because you can only give 1 stars and half stars on Fable and Goodreads. And I'm saying that I read it because I read like 98% of the book, even though I didn't finish it. So terrible book. I'm so sorry to people who like that book. After that debacle, it was spooky season, so I did pick up some spooky books. The first one that I picked up was The Heartless Hunters. I got this in a blind date with a book package from TikTok shop, and it's been a while since I've had this, so I decided to pick it up. I wish I picked this up sooner. It was so good. I gave this a 4.5 stars. It was just so cute. This is a pure enemies to lovers book. People say like enemies to lovers, like Fourth Wing was enemies to lovers, ACOTAR was enemies to lovers, but this is an enemies to lovers. They still hated each other at the end of the book. So like, it was also a super easy read. It is young adult, and it just like was a storyline that I hadn't read in a while, and I thoroughly enjoyed this fantasy read. But what it is it is a witch, and she lives in a world where witches are hunted, and she has to pretend that she isn't a witch to like survive. And then she strikes up a fake romance with a witch hunter to like save her witch friends from like being murdered. So good, so good. Then I picked up My Roommate is a Vampire. I got this last year in Colorado because I just like loved the cover. I loved the like 60s feel of it, and I wanted to enjoy it more. I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. It was kind of a lot to get through. The plot was interesting, but it also was just like, you know, just like, oh, you know. So it still was a cute story, and I did like the ending, but I was just having a hard time like picking it up and flipping the page. If you're into like cheesy shit, this is for you. Then I picked up the second book in the Heartless Hunter duology, Rebel Witch. I actually was originally going to read it right after Heartless Hunter, but I went to my Barnes & Noble and they didn't have it, so I had to go to a different Barnes & Noble. It was a whole thing. But I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I still loved this series. They hated each other still, and yeah, and it was also a sweet, cute ending. I thought it like it wrapped up perfectly, and it was nice. It was a great duology. I think this author should be very proud of this work. It was cute, it was fun, and I highly recommend, if you're gonna read a fantasy book series in October or just in general, or trying to get into fantasy and don't want too much spice or any spice. There is some spice in here, but it's young adult. This is a series for you. Second to last book that I read this year was The Deal, the first book in the Off-Campus series. Like I said, I read Girl Abroad, which is Elle Kennedy's like newer book. This is like one of her first books. I said that her writing aged poorly. Yeah, this is my example. I think that the way that she wrote about women was just a little like off-putting, but I still like did love the storyline. I loved the main male character Garrett in this. I thought he was other than his thoughts about the girl right away, I still think he was a pretty good male lead. And yeah, Off-Campus series is another interconnected standalone series following different girls and different guys in a friendship, and it's a hockey romance. And I did pick this up because of the TV series, and I did like Girl Abroad a lot. I am excited to read the textbooks in the series. Still excited. I gave this one, what did I give it? 3.25 stars. And the only reason was the way that they were writing women, but still very good. The last book that I read this year was The Love Hypothesis, which is another book by Ali Hazelwood. I gave this a 4 out of 5 stars. I don't know if it's because I read Love on the Brain first, because I've been seeing a lot of people say that this is better than this, but maybe because I read this one before this one, I felt like they were the same story, just different places and like different times in their lives. Like, they were not in grad school, they were actually working people, but they were in grad school. And it was another, like, she thinks that the guy hates her, fake dating, like Adam Driver, Grumpy Sunshine fanfic, essentially. So maybe that was just me, my bad. I read these out of order, and that's why I've rated them differently from everyone else. But it's still a very good book, and I'm very excited for the movie. So glad Lily Reinhart is the main male girl. I can definitely see her as Olive. But I think, like, there was just a little bit that it was hard to get through, but I don't necessarily think, I think maybe because I didn't audiobook it, I actually physically read it. I don't know. Guys, I don't know. Sometimes I just be rating on vibes. But that is all the books that I read this year. Very, very proud of myself. I'm going to talk about some of the books that I do want to read and that I'm currently reading, because I always do that at the end of my videos. So I'm actually reading 3 books at the moment, like a maniac, but I'm reading the second book in the Crescent City series. I'm about like halfway, really like it. And again, love this series, and I have not read the third, so I don't know. I know that people do not like the third book in this, so I hope to God that I like it, because it's so enjoyable right now. I'm also reading King of Scars. I think I just needed a moment out of the Crescent City Sarah J Maas universe for a second, and I picked this up. This I meant to read this year. I don't know why I didn't pick it up, but I love the Grishaverse universe, so I'm excited to get back into this. And then, I don't know why I did this to myself, guys. Like I said, Quicksilver wasn't really one of my favorite books this year, and I decided that I would give the second book a chance, and I picked it up during release, and I started reading it during release, and I just, like, it's not giving currently. There's nothing going on. I'm like 250 chapters in. Pages in. Not giving. There's nothing going on. And there's a lot of grammar and continuity issues, more than Quicksilver, I think. But I'm gonna hold out hope, because I got this book. It was expensive. It's gorgeous. Like, I'm sorry. Gorgeous. So you may or may not see it in my reading wrap for next year. As for books that I want to read next year, obviously I want to read the third book in the Crescent City series. This one is House of Flame and Shadow. Gorgeous. I want to read, obviously, the third book and the fourth book in the Twisted series. I have Twisted Hate here. I want to continue reading Allie Hazelwood. I have the first 2 books in this, like, series. I'm not sure what this is called, but it's like the wolf vampire series. We have Bride and Mate. I do have the Target exclusive for Mate, and it's like gorgeous. Can't wait to pick these up. And then some fantasy books I want to read. I want to read Powerless. I have the first one in the series, and then novella. Picked the novella up because it's like gorgeous. Sorry, I saw blue and I had to pick it up. And then I also am very excited about this one, but I just think the cover is gorgeous. But it's called The Insatiable Urge to Fall for Your Enemy. I'm trying to get into more niche fantasy books, and this one was calling my name. Also, it's signed by the author from Barnes & Noble, so very excited about this. Also want to read like City of Bone and some other romance books as well, but those are just the ones that I have as my like TBR at the moment. And yeah, that is all the books that I read this year. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know the books that you read and what you're excited to read for this year. I think this video will be coming out in 2026. I will see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.